Jon didn't hype Tyrion enough for me. He did a whole flip off the wall. That's epicness, yo. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hidden in the Thrones podcast, the show where I read the Game of Thrones books for the first time and give you my genuine reaction to the tales, events. My name is Christian Mike, creator and host for this podcast and first time Game of Thrones reader, and I am thrilled to be here with you once again as we look at what is undoubtedly a worldwide phenomenon. Happy New Year to you, wherever you are. I hope this year is a prosperous one and one of healing, most importantly, especially after the kind of year that we had. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome aboard. Joining me for the first time. I don't have a crew, it's just me in my room recording. But whatever. Thanks for joining me anyhow. Thanks for choosing me to give me your ear today. What is my mouth? Jeez. Oh, gosh. Thanks for choosing me anyway, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I hope I live up to your expectations, whatever they may be. If you're back for around, what is this? 2, 3, 3, 4? Anyway, if you're back for the second or the third time or whatever, thank you for coming back. I may not be as thrilling as Bridgerton currently is, but I am aiming at least to be fractionally close. And before you say anything to me about Bridgerton, no, I have not watched it. And I don't suspect that I ever will. Because I'll tell you something. I watch shows truck. That's a truck. Good grief. Anyway, I tend to watch shows of my own accord. If there's too much of a hype and if there's too much of like a pop culture bubble around it too quickly, I'll take even longer to watch. Now, this doesn't have to do with anything to do with fighting mainstream media or, sticking it to the man or anything. It's nothing that dramatic. This is just how I am as a person. This is just how I function. And I'm not even kidding. I haven't watched Bird Box as yet. I haven't watched The Great Gatsby. Well, there's Bridgerton, obviously. I haven't watched the Game of Thrones series, but I'm reading the books now. So I guess that's one that kind of halfway failed. And all of them are trending in their own right. Oh, Greenleaf. I haven't watched an episode of Greenleaf as yet. Sorry, noise. I'm so sorry, guys. Like I always say, I'm making this excuse way too many times, but because of where I'm recording, I'm near the road in my room. I'm just starting out, so you're gonna get some noise in the background. Please forgive me if you're kind of like picky as to sounds and stuff. Just focus on the sound of my voice. Yeah, because there's nothing that I can really do about it at this point. But yeah, I haven't watched any of these popular series because there's been so much of a hype and a bubble around them, and it's too much of a pressure, man. It's too much of a pressure to like get down to watching it, and if I know everybody's talking about it, it's kind of like it's almost a turn off. But from what I'm seeing and I'm hearing, the show seems to be dope. I understand it was a series before it was an actual show. And the series is written by Miss Julia Quinn, and I might mess around and get the books before I actually watch the series because that's like the kind of person that I am. But that doesn't mean that you can spoil it for me, right? Don't spoil it for me. Don't try to tell me what's happening because I might still get around to watching the series. It might happen, Then I'm a firm believer in the never say never philosophy, so it may very well be that I may get around to watching it. So even if you guys message me or leave me voice messages, please don't spoil it for me. Please don't at me and spoil it for me. I may watch it in the future. Oh boy. But you can give me your spoiler-free reactions by following my new Twitter page. It's called the Turbulent Bookworm Podcast. Or you can connect with me on my personal page at MSMIKE772. That's Miss Mike 772. I don't have a Facebook page for the pages yet, for the podcasters yet. But when I do, I will let you guys know that I do have that Facebook page up and running, and we can connect there as well. There's a YouTube page in the interim. You can check that out. You can subscribe, and you can get updates from there as well. So you don't have to be on Anchor. You don't have to be on a particular podcast frequency in order to get your updates. Right. So now that all that connection stuff is out of the way, let's get down to business. Okay, so disclaimer, I've been reading ahead, and I don't necessarily want my thoughts to muddle into my other thoughts, but I just haven't had time to read and record. So I know I'm gonna get frustrated with myself when I start talking, and then like certain facts from chapters lower down get compiled into the chapters that I'm supposed to examine for this particular podcast, but it can't be helped. All right, okay, so we're just gonna have to push on, and hopefully none of my thoughts just kind of meld into each other. So for this podcast episode, we're going to look at chapters from the perspective of Ned and Jon Snow. So let's start off with Ned's chapter, because that's the chapter that comes first. And in this chapter, we have the Baratheons and the Lannisters coming to visit Ned at Winterfell. They came from the south, which is a lot warmer, and they decide, and well, Robert and Ned are friends, and incidentally, Ned helped Robert take over from the Targaryens, or the Targaryen king, who was pretty much a tyrant, and they're basically best friends, and so he came to visit them along with whole parade, Queen Cersei and Jaime Lannister, who is the Queen's twin brother. And there's also Tyrion Lannister, who's also a person of little stature. And so all of them come to visit Ned to see him after many, many years, it's made apparent. And the main event of the chapter is where Robert asks Ned to be the hand of the king, which is essentially akin to the prime minister. I don't know if we can kind of like associated with VP as well, vice president, but anyway, his right hand man. That's basically what he came to ask him to do. General thought on that: it's actually a smart move, in my opinion. It's a great move. The last prime minister, which would be Jon Arryn, and Jon Arryn is also best friends with Ned and Robert. And also he's Ned's brother-in-law as well. He died following a short illness, and whereas that position, from all appearances, would be a succession thing, Jon's son is, I believe he's sickly. From what I understand, he's sickly, and not only that, he's only like 7. He's brandy, so he's around brandy, but he's very, very young. And I don't think he's this allude that he's sickly, but I'm also kind of getting like he's physically disabled. So it's one out of the two. And I'm judging based on today's standards, but again, 7 is too young to do anything of that sort. What are you gonna do with a 7-year-old trying to run a realm? Like that's a lot for a 7-year-old to do. Like, I don't know, man. This place is weird, but I'm guessing we have to roll with whatever time period they're in. But for me, it will never not be weird. Anyway, he chooses Ned, and it's pretty much a good move because he does have an experience running a realm. He's the Lord of Winterfell, so that makes sense. And he also fought alongside Robert again when he dethroned the Targaryens. So on one hand, he has the experience of running an actual realm and being aware of laws and all those kinds of things. And on the other hand, he would know Robert and be able to give him good advice as a good friend or whatever the case is. And also Robert asking Ned to be the hand of the king falls really, really nicely into the whole rising of the Starks thing that we talked about in episode 1. And if you haven't checked that out, it's on the YouTube page, it's wherever you get your podcast. Go back and listen to it. I talk about that symbolism there, and it's really cool to listen to and think about. and it ends up being a really nice piece of imagery and a really nice piece of symbolism there. So I'm pretty pleased that it came back around after all. And it's really the stirrings of the Stark's position in this whole what's the word that I'm looking for, monarchy that is already kind of established. And if we think about how they came across the direwolves, like we talked about in episode 1, it kind of falls into the death of the direwolf. The mother direwolf, at least, could be a symbolism of the death of the comfort of the Starks, and they're sort of rising in the positions that they should have taken in the first place.
Hey there. All the big podcasts usually take this opportunity to talk about their sponsors. This podcast doesn't have any. But there's nothing like speaking it into existence before it happens. So, this is an ad space, and this is made for the Hidden in the Thrones podcast. Now on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, Breaker, Radio Public, and Anchor.
Right, so the next chapter is from Jon's perspective, Jon Snow. And it's him looking from the outside in during the feast or the welcoming feast for the Baratheon / Lannister clan. And I'm saying purposely Baratheon / Lannister because of what I perceive to be such a fractured relationship between the king and the queen, between Robert and Cersei. Such a fragmented relationship, and there go my thoughts leaking in again, because I read ahead and I know certain things, but I'm saying it purposefully like that because of the kind of relationship that they have, which is pretty much no relationship at all. But yeah, so it's Jon looking into the feast and essentially wishing that he was a part of it in a kind of roundabout way. So the suggestion, why he's there is because Catelyn, Ned's wife, is, or at least the BS excuse that she gave him was that the queen would not be pleased that Jon, as a quote-unquote bastard, would be a part of the clan, because being a bastard apparently in that kingdom, as is with all older kingdoms, is a taboo, and it's something that you don't really want to be associated with as an honorable member of the family. So she thinks that somehow Catelyn will be offended, and even if I didn't know the real reason that Catelyn did it, I know for sure that Cersei would find a reason to be offended. This woman is she's offended. She doesn't like that family. And again, these are my thoughts leaking into my analysis, but this woman does not like this family for beans. She does not like them at all. She would find a reason to be, if they did or did not include Jon, she would find a reason to be offended. And I say this, okay, so I'm not gonna let the events leak. Simple example. So when Robert in the last chapter came, he wanted to go and pay respects to the dead of the Stark, because apparently that's just something that they do out of respect. She was so upset that he was going to go and pay his respects. I guess because she felt it was like a waste of time, or whatever the case is. But whatever, she was pretty much upset, and her brother had to be like, hey, yo, chill, you're making it seem like it's a big deal when it's not. And, she just made it seem as if, it was such a burden to go and do that, and she was mad at Robert a little bit. I feel like from the reaction, she was mad at Robert a little bit. And, the way that she just reacted, she doesn't like those Starks. She doesn't like being there. She doesn't like being with Winterfell. She would much rather be apart from them, and so on. And Cersei is already a piece of work, and you know, you only read up to that part and she's already a piece of work. Anyway, back to Jon. He does this sad little thing where he starts pointing out all the things that he can do versus what his siblings, which would be quote unquote legitimate siblings, can't do. But we can obviously tell that he's miserable and that he doesn't appreciate being hidden, like some sort of odd secret or something like that. Personal thought, I've never appreciated parents or I don't know what's the proper term for parents who are not parents. I guess step parents. But anyway, I've never appreciated illegitimate children being punished for parents' thoughts, because as far as we know, Caitlyn is not mad at Ned, right? She's pretty much okay with the fact that, oops, thoughts are leaking. My thoughts are leaking. But no, anyway, she's okay, seems to be okay with Ned having the outside child, but she continuously punishes Jon for something that he could not help, which is his heritage, more or less. And I find that to be very, very foul of Caitlyn. It's sad. It's sad. And I've never supported illegitimate children or children in general paying for the sins of their parents. But yeah, we are. And rough under the stick for Jon, but what are you gonna do? My opinion is that she should really be mad at Ned, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I get the whole betrayal thing, but don't take it out on the poor kids. Leave the children. Leave the children. Anyway, so in the chapter we also learn that Jon wants to take the black, meaning that he wants to join the watch. And this, of course, is only being done out of a feeling of loneliness and wanting to feel wanted, wanting to feel a part of something. And you really can't blame him at this point, because he's being treated badly by his stepmother, in essence. He has a little drunken outburst, and it's about him not wanting to father a bastard and something or the other, and he ends up embarrassing himself, and he ends up going outside for air, and the poor boy is just distraught about being left out in the first place. Outside, though, he meets Tyrion Lannister. Remember Tyrion that we mentioned just a little bit ago? Right. So that's Tyrion, the brother of the Queen Cersei. And they disrespectfully refer to him as the dwarf. And we're just going to say man of little stature like I did before, because dwarf is, I think little person is a derogatory term. I also think dwarf is derogatory, so I'm going to say man of little stature because he is a man, he's just of little stature. And anyway, we meet him, and the first thing that Martin has him do, which is the author I'm referring to, is to flip off a wall. I don't know why, but I love that for Tyrion. I love it. Martin tries to make him much more than his stature, so tries to make him larger than life, and he has him do this amazing thing like flip off a wall. I mean, I can't flip to save my life, so imagine flipping off a wall, bro. And the way that he describes it, it's pretty amazing. Curling into a ball and then flipping off the wall, it sounds pretty decent. Sounds pretty amazing to me. And you know, he tries to make him so much larger, and I appreciate that. Instead of just making it would be easier to make him like a comedy relief. It would be easy to make him like a kind of like just a normal villain, but no, he tries to make him much larger than life, and I really, really appreciate Martin for doing that. I love what Martin does with Tyrion overall, and then on top of that, Tyrion gives Jon some very wonderfully toxic advice. So I'll just read what he says. He says, "Let me give you some counsel, bastard. Never forget what you are, for surely the world will not. Make it your strength. Then it can't be your weakness. Armor yourself in it, and it will never be used against you." I call it wonderfully toxic because it makes sense to take the joke away from people laughing at you, or from the people laughing at you, so that they don't have that. Because the power in a joke is that you don't know it's a joke, and you don't know that it's wrong until somebody points it out and everybody laughs, right? But I don't think you should be allowing anyone to. I mean, ultimately, you can't stop people from laughing at you. It's not something that you can change. But you can draw a line in the sand and let people know that it's not something that you'll be tolerating, at least to your face. Let them at least laugh at your back. So that's why I call the advice wonderfully toxic. And again, it's easier said than done, but I'm just thinking out loud, and I think it's good advice, and it's not. And before I forget about the lovely piece of imagery concerning the Starks and the Baratheons, because I know I probably would have forgotten, I belatedly realized that the stag is the signet of the Baratheons, and that it was a stag antler found in the throat of the dead direwolf. So yeah, that's another nice dimension to the foreshadowing, and a whole new setup of the dynamic between the Lannisters, even though the signet for the Lannisters is a lion, and the Starks, and it makes a whole lot of wonderful sense. And the antler in the neck of the direwolf could mean also the end of the elder generation, destroyed by one another, meaning the generation of the Baratheons and generation of the elder generation, at least, of the Starks. So it could be signifying the destruction of them by each other, or at least apparently because it's just the horn of the Stark that they find. So it's a nice piece of foreshadowing there, and I'm trying not to let my thoughts leak, so I'm trying not to say too much, but it's a really nice piece of foreshadowing, and it's lovely to watch. Chef's kiss yet again. Martin is doing really well at this foreshadowing part. Anyway, folks, that is where I'm sticking and staying for this episode. I know it's over already and it's really short, but you know what, we'll be back again soon. And there's really nothing in the way of like literary imagery for me, at least, except the antler thing, which is quite obviously brilliant. But I'm just going to pause here for today, because those are the end of the 2 chapters that I will be focusing on today. So thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. And wait, I have some fantastic news. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot. Okay, so we're now officially available on 6 different podcast stations. Yeah, 6. Oh my gosh. So we're available now on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and of course Anchor. So we're getting out there, and I can't wait to get some more ears on the podcast. I am so excited. We're also on YouTube as well. Turbulent Bookworm Podcast. It's the home of the Hidden in the Thrones podcast, as well as the future homes of many other podcasts to come. Hopefully, we're crossing our fingers, we're planning, and we're hoping for the best. Well, I am planning. I keep saying we, like I have people that are helping me do this thing, and it's just me talking to myself in my room. Either way, go ahead to the YouTube channel and subscribe there as well. In the meantime, though, what you can do is you can subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter at TurbulentBookW1, or my private Twitter at MissMike772, and let's get some conversation going about the episode and about the Game of Thrones in general, because I can't wait to talk about Game of Thrones in general. Just do not spoil it for me. I'm pacing myself. I've read ahead, but there are some things that I just need time to digest, so don't spoil it for me. And that's gonna do it for, it takes always traffic always plays a part in the ambience between us. The ending was going so well. Anyway, guys, let me just wrap it up here before the traffic decides to get worse. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for listening. I appreciate you today and every day. Stay safe, stay focused. Folks, I'm gone. Bye.